It's not lost on me, and I hope it's not lost on you, that my biggest video this month is going to be about a man's verse on a woman's rap song. Okay, about Drake's verse on Sexy Red, a verse about a powerful Canadian man using his financial wealth and societal privilege to coerce multiple Black American women from the lower strata of the socioeconomic scale, coerce them into sex through promises of body modification. Okay, that's my bread and butter. That's going to probably do more views than the rest of my positive videos, the rest of my work this month put together. The Vince Staples coming up, the Makami last week, and this album, Please Don't Cry by Rapsody, a masterfully conceived, equally well executed album about being a human, about being a woman, about being a Black woman, about being an artist, about emotion, about truth, about spirituality, about generational loss, about emotional strength, about honesty, and about skills. All of that will crumble before BBL Drizzy. But that doesn't mean you who are here, who are watching this, because you're not just here for the beef. You're not just here for the hot goss. You're here for the art that is rap music and hip-hop culture. Let's talk about this album. Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show, hosted by a French professor who's awfully salty for getting a whole lot of views on a video. Thank you all for watching any of my stuff. But I am, in general, I try to be a positive channel, because who wants to take down artists? They don't get enough respect or remuneration as it is. And who could be a better example of that than Rapsody? Now, I feel a sense of shame, because I do teach a class on hip-hop culture and rap music. I've taught it now twice, and I have, a couple weeks worth of classes dedicated to female rappers. I go back to, I go back to Blondie and the Funky 4+1, and I go through Roxanne Shante, and I have a whole unit on Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown and Lauryn Hill and Missy Elliott and Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion, all that. But somehow, I missed Rapsody in all of that. And I think I know why. So this is a book which I pitch fairly frequently, by Kathy Iandoli, God Save the Queen, Essential History of Women in Hip Hop. If you've never read it, it's very useful. And one of the good things that she does is she includes a lot of quotes from female rappers, including Raw Digga, member of the Flip Mode Squad with Busta Rhymes, a very talented rapper on her own. She came up with this way of dividing the different lanes that women were allowed to be in hip-hop. The sex kitten versus the Nubian goddess. The descriptors shouldn't be in conflict, though by the mid-90s it sure felt that way. Lyrics and looks were mutually exclusive, meaning sex appeal couldn't exist where real bars were present, and vice versa. So the sex kitten exuded the sexuality, while the Nubian goddess did not. Sex kittens could have lyrical skill, although it was overlooked by their form-fitting clothing. If the Nubian goddesses showed cleavage, it was like, hey, cover that up. Okay, so this is part of Raw Digga's frustration as somebody who theoretically should have their own lane, not have to be forced into one place or another. Now, what makes this whole thing so tricky is, I try to teach this and I try to explain it as a shame that women in hip-hop are so marginalized, and then when they're marginalized, they're so often pitted against each other in the media and in social media, etc. But at the end of the day, they're both dehumanized. It's not like the Nubian princess, despite the fact she might have more bars or she might be able to talk about more important images, she's still reduced to just an archetype and not a person. Which is why Lauryn Hill is so important. I believe Rapsody mentions Lauryn Hill 4 times on this album. And listen, okay, this is Lauryn Hill's week. She was just voted having the best album of all time by Apple Music. I don't even, listen, there's I'm just doing the math off the top of my head. There's probably only 15 to 20 perfect albums that exist. And I think that's the only one that made it to the top 10 list. So I wouldn't put it as my number 1 album of all time, but you certainly can't really complain about it. And part of what made it so important was the fact that it carved this new lane. As it goes on to say here, Lauryn Hill eventually changed that, especially following the release of Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, when she embraced her fuller post-pregnancy body, yet still killed it musically. She made good music. She actually made the Nubian goddess sexy. Raw Digga reflects. So, next time I teach this class, hopefully in the spring, I'm going to have to include Rapsody as well, because it was one thing to explain, hey, look at this lane, look at this thing that Lauryn Hill made possible, and then not follow it up with the people who followed that. Right? Like, what's the point of starting a revolution if you're all by yourself? If there's no one behind you getting ready to throw the second Molotov cocktail, you're just a jerk in the street, right? So let's really appreciate the fact that Lauryn Hill quit for many interesting reasons. If you've never watched FD Signifier's video about Lauryn Hill, I suggest you do so. It's very nuanced and very well made. But Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown, they started something and then they were followed. So what do? We finally have Rapsody, who is in this lane, who's taking the standard from Lauryn Hill and moving it forward as somebody who doesn't have to be any one thing, any one archetype. She gets to be the thing that most rappers, all male rappers get to be, and very few female rappers get to be. She gets to be an MC. Period. Point final. That's it. You have to excuse me, my baby daughter's downstairs. She's crying. You might hear her, but she liked this album quite a bit. I was watching an interview with Rapsody preparing for this, and she described her process in writing this, saying that everybody knows that you can rap, but they don't know anything about you. And going back to the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, that's part of what made it such a meaningful album, is that she revealed so much about herself. I would say that Lauryn Hill did not do as good of a job of expressing her vulnerabilities as Rapsody does on this album. Now, listen, that's heresy, right? You can't say anything bad about Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, but I did. And it's not that it's bad, but that this is something where I think Rapsody actually goes further. Although I don't think the beats are as good on, or the singing. I don't think that this is as good as Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, but I do think it belongs in the conversation, a spiritual follow-up. Pet Sounds by Beach Boys is another one of those perfect albums. There are not many musicians who manage to make anything even in the same ballpark as that album, much less in the same field. So, what is she trying to do here? She is just trying to make an album about being a human being. And that might sound weird, and that might sound pretty basic, because in theory that's what everybody's doing, but it's not true. Most people aren't making albums about being human beings. Most people making albums about some kind of vision of themselves that they wish to project. This is especially true in pop music, rock music, rap music, country music. It's actually especially true in all music. It's not especially true in any kind of music. That's just what people do. They want to project an image of themselves, and that's the image that is soaked in by the audience. And whenever an artist kind of lets down, takes off the veil, in the parlance of this album, and lets you see a little bit what's there, you're led into something special. It's worth mentioning that this album is also very, very consciously an album. It has conception. It has structure to it. So, I just graded a whole mess of compositions. Listen, if you're out there, the semester just ended, so it's too late for you now. But for next semester, please have structure to your papers. Don't just write. Don't learn what paragraphs are. If you don't know how to use paragraphs, just look it up. Seriously, Google it. It's awesome. Go to the Academic Success Center at your school. Anyways, the point is, it has this real structure to it, where usually there's these kind of songs that are like couples, little couplets, like one song connected in one way to another, like either by a word or by a theme. There's a general appreciation of rawness through here. There's this general search for spirituality. There's this general fear of death and loss of memory. There's all these themes that just all keep recurring, and it gives you that strong, good feeling you get when you're listening to a great album by a great artist, where everything holds together. If you like this video so far, smash the like bucket, subscribe. Listen, I'm going to get 70,000 views talking about BBL Drizzy, okay? So if you don't smash the like bucket and just leave a comment here, you're going to let Drizzy win. Now, I don't mind letting Sexy Red win, because Sexy Red is but we can't let negativity win, okay? And especially if you want to say AVAA, that stands for awesome video as always, and I will always heart a comment that says that. All right? So let me give you an example of this album. Probably my favorite song. Most of the album is all produced by different producers. So it's I think Black Odyssey is the main producer, like who does the most, but in general it kind of jumps around. This is the track by Hit Boy. If you know this channel, you know I really appreciate Hit Boy. And you can listen to it up there if I remember to put the link up there. Okay? So, starts right off. Oh, well, I'll just skip. Yeah, I'll skip over the intro. Well, I'll talk about the intro later. Anyways, the song starts off, the first single off the album. First name Marlanna, last name Evans. So just announcing right off the bat who she is. Can I tell you something? Can I just be, as you kids say, a buck? Can I keep it a buck? Can I stand 10 toes on what I'm about to say? I think Rapsody is the worst name in rap history. I think it's terrible. I hate it. Like, it doesn't draw me into her work at all. It's like a bad play on words. It's such a bad name that I just never really thought to listen to her music. So anyways, in my opinion, she should just change her name to Marlanna Evans. But that's just me. Okay. First name Marlanna, last name Evans. Underappreciated, but I'm still the most respected. A huge theme that comes up, the difference between appreciation and respect. It's nice because you might think this album is super preachy, and it sort of is, but it's never fully preachy. You know, like she gives credit to Lil' Kim on the same song where she complains about female artists showing their ass too much, right? So it's like she's really trying to find that fine line, because if it's too preachy, then it's just unlistenable. It's the same issue that Lauryn Hill had, I think, with her album. But there's like an honest bitterness to this where it's like she accepts it. She's like, listen, I'm niche. I don't want to be niche. I think I make great beats. I think I make great rhymes. I think I'm one of the best rappers alive. But realistically, people want to hear Sexy Red, or they want to hear Ice Spice, or they want to hear Drake, or they don't want to hear this. And you know what? It's okay, because it makes me insecure, but I make really good stuff. You know who else feels that way? Me. That's the meta text happening with that introduction. If I came on here and made a video called Drake has dingleberries and I have proof, like video proof of Drake's dingleberries, I'd get 100,000 views on here, you know? But if I sit here and do what'll probably, I don't edit, so I'm not sure how long this is going to be, probably over a half an hour video about this great rap album, it's not going to get the kinds of views and thoughts. And there's other music reviewers who are going to get way more clicks and way more thoughts. But you just have to say, you know what? I may be underappreciated, but I'm still respected. So it's nice. It's okay. If you are an artist, and I consider myself an artist, I'm that arrogant. If you are an artist and you have some appreciation, but not as much as you want, this album is really for you. My insecurity is the fear of being rejected. When you this raw, they listen with no erection. My fear is not being rejected. My fear is being misunderstood. That's my greatest living fear. It doesn't have to do with death. And what's great is that this actually connects to the previous song, because the last song talked about her real name, and then this song, and then here she mentions being raw, and then later there's going to be a song being raw. And then I haven't even mentioned the beat yet. It's got this great stutter step. And you know why? I figured it out, Hit Boy. Chauncey, I got you. You're trying to sound like the video game Asteroids. Asteroids was a video game from 70s or 80s. I don't even know when it was from. It's existed for all my life. I used to play it. I'm terrible at it. I just get impatient. I just start going through the screen until something hits me. But you play this little triangle that spins around and shoots at asteroids, and the asteroids break into smaller pieces, and you have to keep doing them. My brother Ward was like super good at that game. He had the kind of, that's why he's a medical doctor, and I'm a doctor of philosophy. But it has this like very tense theme song. Now it's like an old Atari game from the 70s, or maybe even not Atari, just a super old game, just like ridiculously old game. So the soundtrack is just these boops that go boop, 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 and it kind of gets faster and like makes you tense. I think Hit Boy is trying to make the bass sound like that. And I like that, even though it makes me stressed out because I wasn't ever good at that game. Insecurities, I face scars like Omar's coming. Nah, rap back, took bigger steps than Kodak. This is that thing where you're like, wow, how many rappers have you heard refer to Omar from The Wire? Hundreds of them. But it's always the same. It's like, I got a shotgun, or I got an overcoat, or whatever. Like, it's always about, like, but Omar's coming, it's all about, like, the badassery. But here, I face scars, because Michael K. Williams, is that his name? He was supposed to be in the movie Solo. The Han Solo movie with Donald Glover, Charles Gambino as Lando. The guy who played Omar was supposed to play the character played by Paul Bettany. I'm not calling some racist bullshit, but I'm calling some racist bullshit. Because that movie would have been way better if Omar was in it, as opposed to the guy who played Vision. I'm sorry, I know Paul Bettany watches all my videos. I apologize, man. I loved you in other stuff. Anyways, I face scars like Omar's. So like it's the deeper theme of the album about facing trauma, facing scars, facing your weaknesses and your insecurities, using Omar for that. It's really nice and unexpected. And then bigger steps in Kodak, tying into Mr. Ron the Big Steppers and Kodak, and they don't pay me at the level that I rap at. That's a fun thing to say. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again just because it makes me happy to say. The way that she put those words together, every single one of those is a single syllable word. Okay? You're not winning any Scrabble games with playing any of these words. Okay? But just the way she puts them together, it uses a kind of rhythmic punchiness that comes with the syllable of at. So one second here. They don't pay me at the level that I rap at. At the level that I rap at. At the level that I rap at. Great. Just awesome. This is that rap-ish that rap-ish is underexposed to. Again, really, I like to, because one of the main tools of the preachy rapper is talking about how they make hip-hop and not rap. And that's okay. I understand. There is a very important difference. It is not insignificant. I'm not pretending like it's not. But sometimes it can come across as sort of like grandstanding. Whereas here, she's actually fighting. She's fighting for rap, And that's not a bad thing to fight for, because sometimes you wonder, do people care about rap, or do they just care about telling me over and over again that Drake didn't have a BBL, he had ab surgery, and it's hyperbole to say that. I probably had more comments saying that than I'll have views on the rest of my video this week. I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter about success. I love it. Almost went MIA like Lauren. Another one of these references to Lauryn Hill. Talks about knowing Jay-Z. I guess she and Jay-Z are close together. When you the sun, you shine on all the Icaruses. So she later says, if I had a dick, I'd be in the greatest debate. And I don't know her work well enough. To my shame, I didn't review her album in 2019, so I don't know Rapsody's work very well. I'll have to correct that before next time I teach this class, right? But her saying, if I had a dick, I'd be in the greatest debate. I don't know if that's true. But certainly with a line like this, when you the sun, you shine on all the Icaruses? Like, how many times in music, in poetry, in theater, in movies, how many times have you heard you're flying too close to the sun? How many ham-handed, ham-fisted, lame-ass Icarus references do you see? It's to the point where that movie 24 Hour Power, people, with Alan Partridge, when like he makes a joke in the beginning about how hacky that reference is. That, Icarus flew close to the sun and then his wings melted and he fell down to the sea that they then named the Sea of Icarus, right? But here, it's not about Icarus, it's about the sun. Who retells that story from the position of the sun? Rapsody does, that's who. If I was basic, I'd be in a wraith. It's really strong, this theme of if I was just worse, I would have more success. Should I show you the Drake Dingleberry videos? No. Okay. So I'm going to go through the rest of the album a lot quicker. opens up, maybe not quicker, because it opens up with a song called She's Expecting You, which is like some kind of, she's walking into what seems like it's a combination therapist and salon, and Felicia Rashad is there. And for people of a certain age, which is to say over the age of 30, Felicia Rashad is our mother. Okay? So The Cosby Show was the most important sitcom of the 1980s. I'm just going to kick Simpsons to like the late 80s, so that to the 90s, so that we can, not really have this debate. Don't you dare come at me with, cheers. But there we have The Cosby Show, and I watched every single episode of Cosby Show, and I understand that show was so unbelievably important for the way that it presented a middle-class black family, and the way that it represented black families was so important for people who felt unseen in the entire American populace. But me, being just the random white kid in suburbia, I'm not going to say I didn't see race, but it didn't factor into how I perceived of the show. I just perceived of it as, here's a show about a family, which is probably the great revolution of the show. That it was so good and so well made that we just, it jumped over any kind of block that would happen on account of race. Now, I'm not going to go into some kind of racial study of Cosby Show or whatever, and that's not important. What is important is that Felicia Rashad, Bill Cosby was often called, as Heathcliff Huxtable, America's dad, but she was like America's mom. She was this, full-time, working, driven, smart, kind, compassionate, take no guff character that was the mom that we all wanted. We all wanted Cliff Huxtable, and we all wanted Felicia Rashad as our mom, right? That's what we wanted. So that's interesting, but then of course you can't have anyone from that show now without thinking about who Bill Cosby actually was. Somebody who assaulted people a lot, okay? Who roofied their drinks and took advantage of them in their sleep, okay? We cannot help but not think of that. That whole thing being destroyed, which then, at least for me, makes me feel like when I listen to Felicia Rashad, I hear like a survivor. Which is weird, because she was just an actress. But that's kind of how I see. But she has this larger-than-life feeling. To hear her voice, you feel the sense of motherly warmth and care. And the feeling you must have being a black American, that must be exponentially greater. Okay, I'm just telling you as it is for me. Okay, just a random white kid in the suburbs. So she's an interesting character because she plays this sort of in this. She plays like a shaman. She plays like a priestess. She just has all of these ways of talking and inviting you into the album, which then leads us into the second track, Marlanna, where she again spells out her name, really emphasizing who she is. Nice kind of piano, this real cool beat change at the end, and they're the one they still call. The one they call boring, still boarding. I'm unseen, I'm morphing. Tried to ease your pain, now I'm morphine. She has a lot of these rhymes where I guess she isn't the first. There must have been someone else who rhymed morphing and morphine, but I can't think of it. And it's a great rhyme. And again, she's just like, they call me boarding. She is just assuming, she is saying, I'm using assuming in the French sense, she is accepting all of these criticisms and working with them. She then said, did Michael really do it? Yeah. I hate it. But you know what? Hey. The destruction of black celebrity industrial complex is so great that it is absolutely worthwhile questioning that. But and it's not like she says that he didn't, but anyways. Oh shit. Now I just ruined my entire comment section. Okay. It's okay. That's okay. I like Thriller. I'm not upset that it's number 2. I think Michael Jackson's one of the greatest musicians of all time. Absolutely. No question about it. Wow. All right. Okay, I just have to take a break here. who am I in this reality? Who am I if I don't get clicks? This whole second part is really cool. And she's like asking these questions about like her relationship between fame and personality. And then she does another thing, another example where she uses this term. I use the N-word more than going inward. Is it possible that nobody in the 40 years of rap music has used the term N-word and rhymed it with inward? I'm sorry, 30 years of the existence of the word of the N-word, right? Christopher Darden, the part of the prosecution of O.J. Simpson, he realized that he couldn't just say the N-word all the time, even though he was black. It was going to be really bad for the case and everything. So he was the guy, let's put respect on his name, who figured out that if you call it the N-word, that you can talk about the word without using the word, without allowing it to have all of its power in public presence. Okay? It's worth mentioning. But this is a great idea because she's talking about the bravado and the swagger that goes into using that word versus going inward. And that's one of the themes of the album, that the way out is in. You have to go into yourself. I'd argue the way out is also through. Either of those two ways are good. Look at what you've done. So skip over Asteroids. I already discussed it. Look at what you've done. Segues directly from Asteroids. Nice kind of silky bass. This other voice is very sweet and high and fragile and cool. Like she has this other rap style, which is very cool. And then so like ever since Jay-Z said, I feel like Jackson, pick one, Jordan. I feel like Michael, pick one, Jackson, Jordan, game 6, right? Tyson, Jackson, Jordan, pick one, game 6, right? Ever since he said that, there's been like an arms race with Michaels. How many Michaels can you name? And much like Gillette has just released their seven bladed razor, the plutonium face blaster that's on your shelves right now, she just jumped ahead to 7 Michaels. Talk to God, the source, asking how many mics is this. So there used to be a magazine called The Source, and that magazine used to rate rap albums based on how many microphones it got, or how well did the main rapper know the publisher of the magazine in one case. Those are the 2 criteria for getting the ideal of 5 mics. So she's saying, they told me 5, I told them 7. So she's talking to God and saying that she's better. Jordan, Jackson, the other Jordan, Phelps, Tyson, Coach K, and Epps. Listen, my dad's name was Michael. True story. Michael Jackson. His middle name was Jackson. I thought that was hilarious growing up. Okay. Jackson, Jordan, so Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan. Jackson, Michael Jackson, he. Other Jordan, as in Michael B. Jordan, as in the sexiest man alive, Killmonger dude, right? And then Phelps, Michael Phelps. Okay, cool, right? So she's not just like listing black celebrities. Tyson, okay, Tyson. Coach K. Now listen, I'm such a rap nerd. I was like, wait, is the Atlanta record mogul, is his first name Michael? No, it's not. I'm being a doofus. Coach K is the coach of Duke basketball, which is a reminder that you're listening to someone from North Carolina. Because people in North Carolina love many things. Barbecue, tobacco, college basketball. I think those are the 3 main things. Those are like the big things, right? So those are all 3 pretty good things. One of them will kill you. But still, those are 3 pretty good things. So I like that as kind of as a call out to people who are from where she's from, because I don't think most people listening, if they hear Coach K, maybe your average rap fan knows college basketball well enough to know that Coach K's first name is Michael, but I don't think so. And then finally Epps, famous actor. Okay. Again, mentioning Wonder Why Lauren Left, and then No Woman, No Cry. Why is she saying No Woman, No Cry? Is she setting up a breadcrumb Is there a Bob Marley breadcrumb in here? There is. This is a Bob Marley breadcrumb. They say I'm too black, I'm too this, till black girls meet me and tell me they feel seen. You know, this is what I said when I came out of Force Awakens. You know, representation matters. The fact that my daughter got to watch a movie where there was a female Star Wars person doing stuff. Like, I understand how mad white dudes are because it used to be all us all the time with everything. You know, it used to be like if there's a movie about like 5 people doing something great, all 5 of them were white dudes. Like one of them maybe had like red hair. That was diversity, you know? But it does matter. Like, it really, really does matter. Even going back to Claire Huxtable. That's her first name, right? You know, just this is great that she feels seen, right? And that's important. And it's part of why she's so important, because her personality is neither I am the absolute queen imperial of Africa, you know, all-seeing, all-knowing super being, nor is she check out my butt, check out my butt, my butt, my butt, my butt. Because she offers this other lane, she can feel more relatable. There's a really cool thing with the chorus here. The voice is kind of like doubled. It's very kind of a neat thing here. And then we get the next song, D&D. It's not personal. This is a song about her playing just regular Dungeons and Dragons, not advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So I guess she had the old source book before Advanced Dungeons and Dragons came out in the late 70s. And it's about this kind of like adventure that she goes on where she's, you know, rolling for charisma. She's trying. I get one joke per video. I used it on that. I apologize. Obviously, it stands for Do Not Disturb. Cool bass pulsing, simple drums. Okay, you know what? I don't love this song. I don't hate this song because I like what it's about. But it, like this weird sort of Dr. Dre circa 1993 high whiny synth thing. I don't understand why it's like this randomly West Coast vibe here. But it's all about just leave me alone, do not disturb. That's, you know, Did you know in France it's a federal law that you can't contact your employees outside of work hours? That like you just have the right to privacy, you have your right to your free time. Do you understand that we should do that? Otherwise, you have situations like this. We have to fight so hard just to have a little bit of time to yourself. You know, now that I'm in a supervisory position a lot, I often find myself like emailing people, and I'm like, God damn it, I'm that guy. These days are the best days. I think she's quoting Biggie. Black Pop Star featuring Dixon. Okay, so the thing about this album is it doesn't always pass the kitchen test. So if you don't know, I listen to music in all different places. I listen to it on headphones at the Y. I listen to it in my car. I listen to it while grading papers. I listen to it all over the place. But one of the most important places I listen to it is in the kitchen on the weekend when I'm making pancakes, usually with my baby. So I have a 60-month-old baby. I just bought her a chef's hat and apron. It's awesome. And we made Dutch babies today, kind of a sweet breakfast thing. You should eat them if you've never had them. And this album would sometimes pass so like the kitchen test is like where you have music and you want it to fill the house, and it doesn't have to be danceable, but it helps if it's danceable and just kind of has that sort of like lively feeling. Whereas more headphonesy albums, like you kind of want to be in. Like this album's a little bit, to me, a little bit internal, a little bit on the way in, a little bit more thinking about yourself, a little bit less for the kitchen. But some songs pass the kitchen test. This song passed the kitchen test. Cool, like different flows on here. She's got different voices, different flows. She's doing lots of different things here. Kind of like offbeat sounds as well, like these sounds on the offbeat. This other guy, this Dixon person comes in. I really enjoy his voice. He has this kind of smooth, kind of soft voice, and there's this cool change in his verse with the beat, with the bass just goes nutty. Next song is called Stand Tall. Isn't that the name of a Boldy James song? I think it is. Gentle, cool sounds, kind of sort of reminds me of the intro of the song Band on the Run by Paul McCartney and Wings. Check it out. Kind of sweet guitar, a little harmonica. She talks about all these things that she's reading. And then we get to this whole question of her sexuality. I go back to Yandoli. Page 266, it says in my notes. All right. This book was made in... When was this book published? 2019. Rapsody's sexuality was also called into question simply because of how she dressed and rhymed. Quote, 100% the way I dress and in videos, the way my rap hands would make think, oh, she definitely likes women, she don't like us, she says. Rap hands or gesturing while rhyming are mainly considered an attribute of male artists. Because if you rap like I rap, people don't think women are supposed to rap like that. Oh, why is she rapping like that? Like a man? Like what? Men don't fucking own hip-hop, for one. Rapping is rapping. It's an act. It's not something that's a man's thing. It's the action. Anybody can do it. So we have this album that's largely about the truth and about emotional honesty, and she's talking about her anger about this fact that the way that she looks makes people think that she is a lesbian. Now, this is what's tricky, right? Let's say that she is. If she is, then she can't say that she is, because then that's reinforcing the stereotype that shouldn't exist. And if she isn't, and she says that she isn't, then that might be enforcing the idea that it would be wrong if she was. Do you see the box that we put people into and the stupid society we've decided to make? Okay, this ridiculous society we decided to make, where some people, by the layers of marginalization that they are put into, that there's no right way out. There's no way out for her in this situation. The only thing to do is to not talk about it, but then that wouldn't be true. You know, I never once thought about Missy Elliott's sexuality. I don't know. I was researching her for that class, and I found all these essays about whether or not she was gay. I never thought of it once. I don't care. If she's going to slam down, flip it, and reverse it, I don't care what she's slam down, flipping, and reversing. That's not my business, and it doesn't, in fact, impact my image of her art. She also makes... Remember how I just keep... Okay, so she said something in one of these interviews where she's like, people keep saying to me, I can't believe how good you are. Believe it. Well, let me tell you something, Rapsody. I can't believe how good you are, but it's not because you're a woman. It's because I can't believe how good you are, just like period. The same way I can't believe how good Makhami is, okay? I can't believe how good Woods is. I can't believe how good certain rappers are when they get so good. So how is it that she makes this line? Either you Annie or you an Anakin. How is it that me, Professor Skye, who has probably spent more time thinking about Star Wars than I have music, somebody who is obsessed over the Anakin Skywalker story, over Star Wars, who's never thought about the fact that Anakin is called Annie and he doesn't like it. And Annie is the name of the world's most famous orphan. And Anakin's an orphan. How have I never thought that? How? 1999, Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace comes out. I had just come back from France. I fell asleep the first time I watched it. That pod race scene is not well edited. Very enjoyable, but not well edited. Anyways, after that, I've probably seen that movie conservatively 50 times. I've never put these things together. The same way that she's making those rhymes that you're like, certainly someone's rhymed morphing and morphine before. Certainly someone's done this before. I don't know. And then she just has so much range. We're just having this whole like damn, 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 sham, sham, sham. These kind of fun runs where she kind of simplifies things. Whew. That one time. Okay, here's a funny thing. Remember that movie American Pie? I'm just going back to references. Cosby Show, American Pie. Allison Hannigan. Speaking of gay icons, she played Willow on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She famously plays this like uptight flute player who talks about like who's just very uptight. But then she tells the story about one time she was at band camp, and I think she said that she got by the flute. I think that's what she's saying. I think that's the joke, if I remember correctly. I just thought of this right now. I'm improvising, so I didn't look that up. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. It was funny because I hear that one time. I think that one time in band camp. I immediately think that one time, and then I immediately think about that one time, a sexual event that is not indicative of one's general behavior. That's what I think of. When you say that one time, if you start a story with me and you say, well, that one time, I'm going to assume that it's like I don't know. You played Show Me Yours, and I'll Show You Mine with a boy when you were in elementary school, right? And then you moved back to Portugal, right? Like, you're going to tell me that kind of hypothetical story, right? So, like, that kind of thing, you know? Silky flute. So the flute's playing. So it's a flute. I don't know. So now when you hear the song, I want you to imagine Alison Hannigan playing the flute. Because the whole last song was all about, just because I look like this and just because I'm a good rapper doesn't mean that I munch and lunch. Okay? That doesn't mean that's the thing that I do with my sexuality. That's not what I do because of that. And then the next song's about her love relationship with a woman. When I tell you that this is an album that in some ways is better than Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, that's why. That kind of play, that setup and spike, where you're sitting there and you're like, well, I'm glad that she really took a stand saying that she doesn't have to tell us if she's gay or not. And then she's like, yeah, this one time I fell in love with a woman and we totally did it. Like, that fact that she does that so brazenly and so openly is beautiful and human. And it's all true. It's absolutely true. We should not assume, because of the way she looks or what she does, that that's what she does in her private life. And if she does do that, it's not because of those other things. It only took one time. I came out different. I'm just like Gloria, except my smile is missing. Referring to Gloria Carter, Jay-Z's mom, in the song Smilin', where she came out on her son's rap song. Can we do a 440? Hey, Professor Skye, could you do like a retro review of 444? Yeah, maybe. I guess if enough people ask me, I'd like to do that. I was experimenting. I've been known that lie. I found out so do women. So there she is. She's talking about it, about this woman and the heartbreak and how bad she felt before, and always labeled but never defined. That's what she is. She'll be labeled, but she can't be defined. And she is just expressing this thing. And so you can be some kind of prescriptive jerk who says, that means that you're a bisexual. That means that you're a lesbian. That means that you're this or you're that. But what Rapsody's telling us is that I'm a human being. These are my experiences. There's a time I fell in love with a woman. She broke my heart. I learned a lot of things about myself. And the next song is going to be a song about being with a dude. 3 a.m. with Erykah Badu. Erykah, but I don't really understand her importance. I think of all of the things that crossed over in American culture, I feel like I just missed Erykah Badu just completely. I feel like the whole Soulquarian kind of neo R&B soul thing is like this wonderful, like, treasure box. It's just sitting on my porch, and just someday I can open it up and be like, oh, damn, I now see why everyone said this was so good. But, I mean, obviously I like her voice. You make me feel like a virgin and different and taste like sugar every time we kiss. It's very clear that this is a sort of a hetero love story. And the last one was, was a same-sex love story. Smooth, tastes like brown sugar every time we kiss, like Tiana. And then she makes it clear, the Disney princess. Princess and the Frog, by the way, while we're talking about underrated things and representation mattering, Princess and the Frog is a great Disney movie. I just said it. Relationship is like a second adolescence. Really deep, fun idea. Then, in case you are having a nice day, she's going to ruin your day with the song Loose Rocks. She's going to ruin your day by this song. Now, she's talking about these loved ones and no drums, just voices and this idea of loose rocks in the yard. And it's all about her grandmother having Alzheimer's and losing her mind, losing her memory. My reality is that I dread the day I walk into the house and you ask someone who I am. And then she actually does a thing where she repeats her own verse in the same way that her grandmother, who she's talking to, repeats her verse to represent the kind of pain that this makes her feel. Listen, how many... Okay. You know how there's like a weird thing where you can be like, okay, but you don't know anybody who died in a plane crash, right? No. Do you know anybody who knows somebody who died in a plane crash? No. Do you know anybody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who died in a plane crash? No. How many frequent flyer miles do these people have? Millions and millions and millions, right? Like, just I don't know anyone who was struck by lightning, all that stuff, right? How many people do you know who have been struck by Alzheimer's in their family? I have like 6 people in my head, and I'm not counting myself because my mom died in the early stages. So, like, I was getting there. I was hitting that point where she would start to repeat her stories too often. And, like, I would get kind of mad at her, and I felt bad for being mad at her. But, like, I didn't understand what was happening. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, so she passed, and that's terrible. But if she were still alive, that would be my reality, like, every single day. It would be like every single day going down, because she lived down the street, going down the day and hoping that she knows who I am, hoping she knows who my kids are. This thing would just happen to her. So this is this thing that happens in life. It happens all the time. All the time. It's not even rare. It's great. It's because we live so long, right? So that's awesome. We have life expectancy. But she's writing about it with this humanity and with this truth and with this feeling that is so universal. It's not about like and about being in North Carolina or being a woman or being black or being whatever age she is or being American or any of those things. It's just this most universal thing that she's expressing this pain. That's a very real pain that she is expressing in a way I don't know. I'm sure there's movies about Alzheimer's. I've seen TV shows with Alzheimer's. I can't think of any songs. This is what rap music can do that other art forms can't do. You can't really make an effective rock song about Alzheimer's. I don't think so, because you have to tell the story. You can't just be like, I wish you didn't forget what I just said. Wish I knew what happened in your head. You know, like, all right, well, that was kind of a bop, unintentional. But, like, that doesn't get you emotionally the way this does. And then she changes the channel to Diary of a Mad Bitch. Someone asked me recently if the N-word and the B-word are the only words I censor. I always censor the N-word out of respect, but I will sometimes say the B-word if it appears in proper context according to an internal criteria that makes sense to me. So you can tell me if you found that offensive. I think it makes sense because the title of the song, right? That's just like she's trying to get the shock there, you know? The cool, funky drums, angry sound. This passes the kitchen test a lot. I'm going to say something that's going to piss you off so hard. This song reminds me of 21 Pilots. You missed. You just cracked your screen, but you missed me. Yeah. And whatever. It's just the way that it's sung, and I'm listening to their new album too. Angry sounds over these water and the funny thing is she says get your rocks off, you know, a term for sexual release, and like the last song was called Loose Rocks about Alzheimer's. That's funny, right? I'm just realizing the album's called Please Don't Cry, and I literally cried on screen. I don't usually cry. I do sometimes, you know, but damn, man, Alzheimer's is really tough. There's also, yeah. Anyway, so it's a weird kind of connective tissue that's unexpected. And a cool kind of pitched up voice in the back. And I am a B-word about B-words who drop their britches for listens. So this is a little bit of that kind of, you know, I'm not like them, you know, sort of like the you know, positioning yourself against the sex kittens. But that's why it's great, because what she says is you ain't giving enough respect to Lil' Kim. She's the real queen of the shit. So it's, you know, it seems like it's not that she's against the idea of there being the sex kitten archetype in rap music. But as she said, I've seen enough ass. And let's be honest. I mean, I'm, you know, red-blooded hetero male. But I think we are reaching ass saturation point. That's one word. Look it up. Ass saturation. That's where one has seen enough ass to the point where seeing ass makes you unaffected. I feel like we might be there. I think Rapsody is onto something. Never Enough is the next song. Not about ass. I don't like this song. I don't know. It's kind of reggae style. It's fine. It's not terrible, but I think it's all done to set up the next song. I think it's the next part of the Bob Marley breadcrumbs leading up to the song "He Shot Me," which, listen, did you think this was going to be about Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez? I thought it was. It's not. Guitar's kind of whizzy whammy, kind of Hawaii style, and then it's a Black Lives Matter anthem that then takes "I Shot the Sheriff" by Bob Marley and redoes it. The best flip of "I Shot the Sheriff" since EPMD. What was the name of the song by EPMD? Don't go closer because you might get shot. Is it Strictly Business? No, that's not Strictly. Okay, please tell me in the comments because it's driving me crazy. But it's actually better because it's not the terrible Eric Clapton version. That's redundant. It's not the Eric Clapton version. Eric Clapton will always catch strays from this channel. Okay? Don't come at me with no slow hand love on this channel. Okay? Always positive, except about Eric Clapton and Drake. Well, if I had to choose, I'd pick Drake over Eric Clapton any day. Drake has more talent in his pinky finger than Eric Clapton has in his entire goddamn body. It's okay. I get mad about Eric Clapton. Let's go back to the song. "I shot the sheriff, but I didn't shoot the deputy" is the song, and then she tags it with "but he shot me," which makes this a Black Lives Matter anthem, which reminds you of the fact that there are few Black Lives Matter anthems in hip-hop. I know. You can think of 4 or 5. Good for you, okay? I'm giving you a Christian Bale good for you for that. You can think of 4 or 5, but I mean, how many songs are there about, like, the Vietnam War? I don't know. Like things that people protest? Like, how is it possible there's so few songs about this topic? I know you can think of a lot, but still I don't think there's enough. It's like COVID. We don't have enough songs or movies about COVID. We just don't have them yet. We have more movies about we have more movies about flaming hot Cheetos than we do about the COVID epidemic. What does that tell you about our culture, okay? We're still trying to process our trauma, I suppose. But it's really nice. I really enjoy this song. I think it's in conversation, to me, with the underrated Nas album that he did with Kanye West and the song "Cops Shot the Kid." I think these could go quite well together. Then we on to sort of the spiritual bit of the album with "God's Light." This cool, sweet singing voice, keep it pleasant, and an interaction between the singer and the rapper is very strong. The bass is working super hard here as well. Going where there's no reception, taking advice. What's love got to do with it? Like Tina and Ike. My mommy and daddy like Tina and Ike without the hits. Without the hits, y'all don't respect my light, but that's life, right? My mama and daddy are like Tina and Ike without the hits is like one of the wildest lyrics you can possibly have. Because, you see I have it here, by the way. Listen, I'm ambiguous about listening to Ike and Tina on streaming because I assume that the domestic abuser gets the majority of the streaming credits for it, right? But have you heard how good this music is? Jesus Christ. I grew up when, Tina Turner was very big in the 80s. I don't particularly, she's fine. She's simply the best, better than all the rest. But beyond that, oh my God. And let's, again, to keep it a buck, Ike Turner is one of the most important guitarists of all time. Okay? Definitely more important than Eric Clapton in terms of what he brought to the art form. Now he's a terrible person who beat his wife. So it's weird because the only thing most people know about Ike and Tina is that they had an abusive relationship. So by saying this, it's so she's saying that they had a combative relationship, but there was no physical abuse? Or is she... And then she goes right without the hits, "You don't respect my light," because she's talking about how she's not a big hit rapper artist person. There's a lot going on here. "Back in my bag." Oh, by the way, this album's too long. Sorry, it's too long. This video's too long, but it's because this album's too long. I want to listen. I can do a 20-minute song about one Drake verse. but I sure as hell am not going to do a 10-minute video on this great album. The horns start and the drums, kind of trappy sort of drums in the back, just showing off this skill. Again, saying she feels like Lauren. The beat switch, I'm back in my bag, I'm back in my bag. This beautiful interlude then next. Nico's interlude with Nico Brim. It's cool because it's like she's like highlighting this random male rapper, right? And it's like, it's sort of like how sometimes male rappers will just like throw a little interlude or something to a female rapper to be like, I care about the women's. This is sort of like that, but in reverse. And that leads up to the song Raw, this great crackle sound, the string and the sweet, like, it's. I think you can tell. So Lil Wayne has the highest ceiling, has the highest floor of any guest rapper. Like, you know, there's a floor and a ceiling. And he always delivers at least 3, except for that Tyler feature. That just ridiculous. That was just terrible. It was just absolute garbage. That was so bad. It still makes me angry on such a great album. He was so bad. I'm trying to think of the stupid punchline he had there about like your husband, hubby ho, something like that. Doesn't matter. But in general, his floor is very low, very high. So the worst Lil Wayne feature is better than most other people's best feature. But I think you can tell how much he respects the artist he works with by how good it is. And I think this shows that Lil Wayne has a lot of respect for Rapsody. I mean, he draws in, you know, because it's this theme of Raw, and so he kind of semi-quotes Raw from Old Dirty Bastard, and then just sort of like goes off about sushi and says, you know, Rapsody like queen, you know, this cool kind of fun lines. They don't make them like you, no makeup, can hit it face down without effing the pillowcase up. Funny, smart line. He's just really doing great. He's really like working hard here. And then Rapsody comes in, R's for Rapsody, R's for Raw. Sometimes panties don't match the bra. I really enjoy this because I'm not a woman, but I can guarantee you if I was a woman, my panties and bra would just never match. Well, who am I doing this for? You know? Like, I just, as much as a man who's never worn women's clothing can relate to a bar is how much I relate to this bar. You know? It's just, like, that's so Raw. That's awesome. Broke phone like Lamaru, baby, I like it raw. It's that bushy pussy rap. Funny, interesting, like there's kind of like frankness to it. Just she has this great rawness, and she talks about raw emotion and raw sex and all sorts of raw. It's just great the way this all goes together. Then we get to the song Lonely Woman. Had to skip this one this morning in the kitchen. A little too much for me to handle. So this is a masturbation anthem. It's a beautiful masturbation anthem about how important it is if you're a woman to just, you know, really go to town and make yourself feel good. I mean, really, I think there's two verses. There's 2 verses on this. You know, I'm all in favor of anything that promotes female sexuality in pop culture if it is done with the express intent of empowering women and their own autonomy over their own body, and the acknowledgement that their pleasure is equally important to that of any other partner they might have. So that's all great. Great song. Nice. Not problematic. But you don't want to listen to it with your daughter. Ballad for the Homegirls. Kind of a Marvin Gaye style thing with kind of languid sitar, talking to a sister, asking about why do we start becoming like our parents. Hey, I don't do ads on this show, but let me tell you something. Do you feel like you're becoming like your parents? May I suggest therapy? You should try therapy. And I don't mean BetterHelp. I'm sure that's fine-ish. But if you have health insurance, if you are lucky enough to have health insurance, please inquire with your provider about how to get real face-to-face therapy. You won't become your parents. That frankly, that should be the tagline to all therapy. You cannot take that BetterHelp. That's mine. I give it to all other therapists, but BetterHelp. Baby Tate has this cool kind of sing-song rapper. It's nice. It's a good song. It's a good vibe. Please Don't Cry. Again, Felicia Rashad comes back. This question, who are you in your raw state? Who are you? Who are you? Faith comes back and keeping the faith. And this is funny, you know, because my other sort of favorite female rapper who's working right now is out of Buffalo, Chez Noir. And I feel like she's in a very similar lane to Rapsody. Just like ridiculously talented, not about her butt, not even not about her butt, you know what I mean? Just a human being who's doing good rapping, who's sort of in that lane. And she often gets spiritual as well. And I don't know. You know, maybe that's for the audience. I don't know. I don't know. It's like overtly Christian songs on rap, on female. Okay, I think you could do some kind of like greatest hits playlist of rap songs about loving God. And if you did that, like 98% of them would be by women. So I'm not saying, I don't draw any conclusions from that. I'm just observing that and thinking like, ooh wee. What's up with that? I don't know. If you have answers, sociologically, if you study religion, or if you are casually 1 hour into this video and this whole time you've been an expert on sociology of religion as it pertains to race and gender, you just throw some knowledge into the comment section. Forget Me Not is the final track on the album. It's cool, kind of slightly distorted piano, backwards sounding drums. She mentions that her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses. What's the deal? Prince, Childish Gambino, Rapsody, something there. Hardest thing to do is lose. My greatest fear is death. The hardest thing to do. 2020 was a doozy. I know that you come around. It was like blow after blow. I lost a lot of people. She's not even rapping, by the way. She's just talking. Thank you for commenting on 2020 being difficult. We need more songs to talk about that. And then she talks about her mother getting a touch of the Alzheimer's. You know what? It was too much. It hurt. It hurt because it makes sense. It just makes sense. That's just what happens. You know, our brains go, and it is often genetic. So, like, what? In 30 years, am I going to start saying things again, and then my kids are going to be upset? This is a deep album, y'all. This is a very deep album in a lot of ways. It's a very deep and wonderfully human album, and I am very appreciative that it exists. Thank you for hanging out with me for an hour while I talk about it. Thank you for smashing the like bucket and trying to promote this to show that the world cares more than just BBL Drizzy. Marlanna, interesting name. One of the hardest names to spell, I would say, because really difficult names to spell are names where it's like other names, but it's slightly different. She probably had to really spell that a lot growing up. And then she named herself Rapsody without the H. Okay, until next time, there's a camera.